Yo, what's up, guys? This is your host, Ahmed Aziz, and I'm with Phil DeVito and Jackson Wellna, and we're going to do things a little different. Well, this is going to be a start of a new thing, and we're going to be talking about debates on who's better than who, and today's debate is Shaq against Hakeem. Well, I think it's Hakeem. Jackson and Phil believe it is Shaq, and first I'm going to start off with them. Why do you guys think it's Shaq?
In my opinion, Shaq is the most dominant big man of all time.
I
Um,
agree
you
with
know,
he's the most dominant, just to let you know. Keep going.
and I just think like his impact, like for his size and being as versatile and athletic as he was, as a 7'1", was he 325-pound center? He was, running up the court. He was pretty quick for his size,
I
honestly.
mean, on the
Um,
Lakers, I don't think he was really as quick, but on the Magic, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, but even on the Lakers, he was still pretty athletic, and of course, he has three rings with Kobe, and one with D Wade, and I don't know. I just think that his impact, Olajuwon, of course, had his two rings, and Olajuwon is he won Defensive Player of the Year, um, and pretty much kind of carried that team because it was mainly just him and Kenny Smith, of course.
Just to let you know, Hakeem is the only player alongside MJ to win MVP and DPOY the same year. MJ won it in 1988, and Hakeem won it in 1994. So he's recently the what's it called, last player to do that,
Okay.
which is crazy, like absolutely crazy. And not just that, but Hakeem also won a championship in 1994 and 95. So, in a sense, Hakeem is the only player to have won a MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and NBA championship the same year. That's something that nobody else has done. So if you think about it like that, that puts him like way up there, and that's really my one of like my biggest arguments right there because everybody underrates Hakeem. And just to let you know, one thing he especially did was you guys know Ramadan, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Oh yeah, with the
fasted
Bull playoffs, yeah.
and he won. Like, I can't even play like 2 hours of basketball without like wanting water, man. But this man was playing through like professional NBA games, man, doing
Yeah,
that.
the playoffs and stuff. I do give him credit for that because that is honestly incredible. He was playing
No, that's that's
full
that's
NBA games, playing like probably like 40 minutes with no water. I think
that's a
that
very
is
hard feat.
And his
crazy.
Cantor was doing that also with like a sore shoulder, which like he was getting tips off of Hakeem, and that's also like crazy, like how players are able to do that. And so my bad. Like going back to Shaq, you were saying I agree with how you said he's the most dominant, but like, what other things do you think sets him apart? From Hakeem.
Well, I mean, no disrespect to Hakeem, but in my opinion, if Jordan never retired, I honestly am not sure if Olajuwon would have those two rings personally because I think one of the reasons he did, because of course Jordan had the three before those 2 years and the three after Olajuwon winning. I personally think that if Jordan never retired, Olajuwon could not even have those two rings personally, and that kind of wouldn't be on that debate side. I
Uh,
mean, I know that doesn't affect him from Shaq because even players that have zero rings, it's not sometimes it's not all their fault. They just didn't have the right team. It's not necessarily Olajuwon's fault if he wouldn't have any rings. But I personally think that he wouldn't have been able to beat Jordan if he didn't retire.
I'll get back to that later on why I think they actually might have been able to beat them, but what's it called? Think of it this way: if Jordan is prime played and Shaq was also there with his Lakers team, I would obviously choose the '96 like Bulls because I don't know if you
Yeah,
guys saw it, but Dennis Rodman did a good job of playing defense on Shaq when he got switched on to him, like that video. And
yeah, yeah. Dennis Rodman was definitely very underrated for his defense. He was definitely for his size. He was what 6'6", 6'7" power forward.
yeah,
And
six
he was
seven power forward, right?
yeah, and he had like the most rebounds or something in a season
Right, right.
back then or something. Like
I
he
think
was
he's the
insane.
best rebounder period of all time.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I feel like he is one
Yeah,
of the best rebounders to ever play the game.
I know Bill Russell and Wilt are up there, but like that was like in the era where it's like Well, I don't want to like give any disrespect to the era, but like Dennis Rodman had to go against some crazy rebounders during his era, like way more competition, I would say, in the '90s. And
Yeah, definitely.
my point is like Hakeem, like his defense sets him apart from Shaq because don't get me wrong, Shaq's a great defender, but I think like only so many people could be at the defense that Hakeem is in, you know. And like I said, to win MVP and D-Point in the same year, and also fast then win the championship for 2 years in a row with that, that's honestly like I don't even know how to describe. That's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like Shaq had some competition too, like against Tim Duncan and the Spurs. Like they kept, you know, after Shaq's three-peat, Tim Duncan won and stuff like that. Tim Duncan won in 1997, and it was basically them taking turns and stuff like that. But overall, I don't think Shaq has the same impact Hakeem has. And yeah, Shaq has more championships, but look at the rosters when they won championships. Because, like, yeah, Hakeem had, like, Ralph Sampson, like, for a good time, but then he got injured and stuff like that happened. Otis Thorpe's good too, but... Oh, I don't want to mention Clyde Drexler, but he was old.
Olajuwon did definitely carry that Rockets team for sure.
I don't say carry because like they had good role players and they did their part and like what's it called? Everybody knew what to do. Everybody knew their role and they didn't have like an ego or whatever. They put that aside. But Hakeem was definitely like, and like he had competition in the finals too. Forgot to mention that against Patrick Ewing and the Knicks. Like the Knicks, man. Like the Knicks were actually good during that time. No offense, Jax, because I know, you know, even the Knicks.
No, that's all right.
No, I honestly, yeah, you're right though, because personally, the Knicks haven't, you know, been the same really. And yeah, the '90s was definitely their time to shine. Unfortunately, they didn't win any rings, but you know that team with Ewing was a great team with John Starks as well.
Right, and you know, since we're going by greatness, you could also measure like other things, like even like simple things like free throws, like. Obviously, Shaq wasn't the best free throw shooter, and Hakeem was pretty decent, obviously. Like, Shaq shoots free throws like Phil at an open gym, so.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so what other points do you guys want to talk about? Because I think Shaq also had better teammates than Kobe and Dwayne Wade.
He did. He had better teammates.
And Penny Hardaway, obviously.
Yeah, he did have better teammates for sure.
He did have better teammates, but I feel like he could have backed down any defender and then just dunked on them.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
I was gonna. Sorry to cut you off, but what I will say about Olajuwon was that his offensive game was definitely better than Shaq's in terms of like he had that fadeaway. And I think he had a somewhat of a mid range. Of course, Shaq really had.
Shaq was kind of limited to only the paint for his offense.
Hakeem had
he was
skill.
really limited to mainly dunks and hooks, and honestly mainly just dunking on people. And Olajuwon of course had that fadeaway, the dream shake, of course.
So you admit his offense is better, but what about defense? 'Cause I think he's a better defensive player too. When Shaq never won a D-point, and what's it called? All right, you know what? Forget about it. Maybe that doesn't mean anything, but like to say like he wasn't like the anchor of the defense, Hakeem, and what he's done, like he's like number one in blocks, I believe, of all time, which obviously you can't take lightly, and the fact, like I said, that his, how do I say it, like also defensively, I think Shaq had a better team, like with Kobe Bryant and the amount of first team all defenses he won, and even second team, and you compare that to like Hakeem's teammates and stuff like that. I think Shaq definitely had like a better defensive team where they could hold their own and stuff like that too. Factor that in. Nothing. You guys don't have anything else to prove on Shaq?
Well, yeah, but I still think with all that said, I don't know. I still feel like Shaq was a better player. It's kind of hard to explain. But I feel like, of course, there were things that Olajuwon did that Shaq didn't do, but there was also things that Shaq was doing that Olajuwon wasn't really doing.
Wait, I don't really agree with that, to tell you the truth, because Shaq might have been obviously more dominant, but I think Hakeem was able to do everything Shaq could do.
not everything. I feel like Shaq was able to get more contact finishes off than Elijah Wan.
Hakeem got his contact finishes though. Sure, he
But
got
I think I
more.
don't think there was as much as Shaq though. I feel like Shaq was able to pull
I
through.
feel like Elijah wasn't like as explosive. Like Shaq was like very, I feel like he was extremely athletic. Even, of course on the Magic, but even somewhat, on the Lakers, he was just a lot more explosive.
He wasn't
a
as
lot.
explosive, but why be so explosive when you have like more like skills to like use? Like what you have more to your skill set. Like Hakeem doesn't really need to go inside and like drops up his dude and like dunk over him all the time. You know what I mean? Because he was able to do anything else too. A fadeaway. Let's not forget Hakeem the Dream. The Dream
Yeah,
Shake.
the dream shake. Yeah, of course.
The hook shots. He had like really like no weaknesses inside to his post game, and
Yeah, the whole package. Yeah.
they couldn't even foul him because he was able to shoot free throws, stuff like that. Like he really is like the definition of a player not having a weakness as a center back then. And
Yeah.
like I said earlier, like what's it called? Like his best teammate was near like Kobe's level or Penny Hardaway or Dwayne Wade, and I'm pretty sure you guys remember when Shaq and the Magic played against Hakeem and the Rockets and that Game 1 incident with Nick Anderson and him missing 4 free throws in a row. I don't know if you guys saw that, but
I did not see that.
you guys didn't see that?
No, I didn't actually.
I didn't.
Because basically what happened was, I'll explain it to you guys really quickly, where the Rockets are down by 3, and then Nick Anderson was at the free throw line. He missed both free throws to put the game away. Somehow got the offensive rebound, got fouled again, and he missed both free throws again. And then Kenny Smith was able to tie it and send it to overtime.
Wow.
Hitting a 3. So, yeah, I think, what's it called? Like, they made mistakes, but, like, people really had, like... Well, actually, I'm not going to say people had Shaq winning because he was young at that time, but, like, Hakeem, like, they had him as... He was basically clearly, like, the best player once MJ was out because everybody knew it was just Hakeem's time then. Like, they didn't bet against him, and he showed that by winning the 2 championships when MJ wasn't in his prime. Like, meaning, like, he wasn't in the league right there.
Right.
It was Hakeem's moment to shine.
Now, I was going to mention something. Have you guys seen the Bleacher Report's top 50 of all time? Have you guys seen that list?
I have seen that, yes. Where they have Steph
So-
Curry at number 10, right?
Right. Now, I want to ask your thoughts on this. So this is actually, I'll still relate it to Hakeem and Shaq. I don't want to change the topic too much. So they have Olajuwon ranked at 13,
Okay.
and they have Shaq ranked at 6, I believe. Yes, 6. So they have Olajuwon 13, Shaq 6. That kind of goes to what me and Jax were saying. But now, obviously, of course, you think Olajuwon is better.
100%.
So how do you think that rank? What are your thoughts on that? Having Shaq at 6 and Olajuwon at 13.
All right, let me put into this perspective. Not like forget the statistics, but this is what I think are the top 5 centers. Like, I'm not talking about like I'm also talking about like what they brought to the team and things like that, not just individual talent. But number 1, I think obviously to me is Kareem. He's the top 3 player of all time.
Of course. Yep.
Behind like MJ and LeBron, wherever you get ranked them, I put
No,
MJ
yeah.
at 1.
I agree.
I have at number 2. I had Bill Russell over Wilt Chamberlain. I read this book, The Book of Basketball by Bill Simmons, and like I know he's a Celtics fan, and like people might see his bias, but he backed up his like theories on why, his points on why Bill Russell's better than Wilt Chamberlain by like bringing actual sources to the equation, stuff like that. And then at number 3, I have Wilt Chamberlain. Number 4, that's where I put Hakeem. At number 5, I'd probably put... Actually, that's tough. I don't know if I would have him over David Robinson, to be honest.
Bruh. This list, what I will say, this list, I think is wrong. They have Bill Russell over Wilt, which is good, but they have David Robinson over Olajuwon. That I disagree with. They have David Robinson at 12, Olajuwon at 13. That I disagree with. I am not taking David Robinson over Olajuwon. That is for sure.
And I know what's it called? Like you guys obviously know how close Charles Barkley is to Shaq. He also said that he doesn't think Shaq's top five center, but I actually do think like Shaq's number five. So I mean, I'd put David Robinson at six actually, but yeah, that's my list really for the most part. And I don't know, like things like I feel like Shaq had even more potential than like what he was great at. Like I'm not a NBA player obviously, but like after like reading about things and seeing like recently Kobe, you know, how like if he wasn't as lazy and he had a better ethic, then they would have won more championships, which I guess I agree with because of all that like feuding between the two. It's hard to imagine that they wouldn't have won so many championships if they didn't separate.
Yeah, I feel like the team was already dominant, and it could be more dominant if Shaq did put a little work in. Because I did see all the things that Kobe was saying, and how everything was coming out. He could have definitely been better than what he already was. He could have definitely proved that he would have been a top five to Charles Barkley probably if he had just put in a little more work. I feel.
Right.
Yeah, he'd definitely be like. I think he's still top five. Don't get me wrong, but like, I think he'd be like maybe even more up the list to me, in my opinion. But I
He
understand.
could probably have been a top three if he had just kept up with his work and really like grinded to get the championship.
Yeah, because he was already so dominant. But if he added like more to his skill set, that would have been something else, man. Where you have to like worry about more moves than him just drop stepping you and like dunking on your face and stuff like that, man. That's
Yeah.
something else. But
Yeah.
and going back, I just want to like tackle one more point really quickly. Like when you said when MJ was gone and what's it called? If MJ wasn't gone, they would have won the championships. Like I saw
Right.
this thing where Robert Horry was talking about his team and they still would have won. And yeah, Robert Horry said some like crazy stuff like how Ginobili cost them the championship, and then Paul Pierce and the Celtics wouldn't have won. And obviously, we all know Ginobili did his part, and him saying different crazy things like how Hakeem was 20 times better than Tim Duncan. But one thing I do agree with is the fact how he said Vernon Maxwell, a really good defender, might have been able to slow down MJ because obviously, like we say with many other players, nobody could like actually stop a superstar like Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time. I think Vernon Maxwell could have done a good job of defending him and like prevented him from
I
at
don't
least
know.
getting his scoring average because he was a great defender if you saw him, man.
Yeah, but we're also talking about Michael Jordan.
The
Man, I
greatest
don't know
player
if
of all time, yeah. But
I
I'm
don't even
telling
know
you,
if he could have slowed him down. It wasn't really slowing down MJ.
I think Vernon Maxwell could have at least stopped him from getting his scoring average, and you know, Dennis Rodman is a great defender, and I believe that Bulls team had the best like trio defenders in NBA history with MJ, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. But I don't think there's what's it called? I think yeah, Dennis Rodman was able to like slow down Shaq, like stop him really at times, but that's because he was like predictable really, but he was so strong where it's like shoot, not many people could really stop that. With Hakeem, you have so many things to worry about where it's like, oh, what's it called? I can't just like stop him in the paint and not let him like drop set me. Oh, I have that post hook, I have that dream shake, I have everything, and that's why I think Hakeem would have still been feeding inside. And his support cast is pretty decent too, like his bench and things like that. That's why I really think with that solid bunch of role players to complement Hakeem, they would have won those two championships either way.
That's tough to say.
I know probably a good amount of people disagree with me, but those are basically my points on why I think really Hakeem could be Hakeem could be better than Shaq, and why those two championships could have still been won by them, even with MJ in the league.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of people. That's definitely a tough question to ask because obviously, we'll really never know. Because of course Jordan retired twice and came back, but we'll truly never know if Olajuwon could have beat Jordan in the finals. My opinion is that he wouldn't have, but I mean, like I said, you can't really debate that. because we'll really never know. What I will say is that Olajuwon definitely would have did a lot for them because they're the Bulls center at the time. Who did they even have really? They had like Longley, right, at the time, I think.
Right.
Yeah, he definitely could not have stopped Olajuwon. We don't even need to discuss that. He definitely couldn't have stopped him.
They probably had Rodman on him like later on, but I still don't think like Rodman might have been able to slow him down a bit, but like I still think Hakeem would have been feeding inside the paint.
Right.
So I truly believe in. I mean, so do you guys still think Shaq's better than Hakeem?
Yes.
There is something down inside me that says yes, Shaq is better, but I'm not sure. You did put up a good argument.
Yeah, I mean, lists don't mean everything, but that top 50 does rank him decently higher than Olajuwon. And again, I know that lists don't mean everything, but I think he's ranked a decent amount higher than him for a reason. Personally,
Hey man, agree to disagree.
but no, I mean, like I said,
totally
lists.
understand. Like a lot of people, like as much as I hate to say it, would probably put Shaq over Hakeem, but for me personally, I just think Hakeem was able to do everything, and he's just truly amazing. And like I said, he's done some crazy things that no one was able to do, and that shouldn't be taken lightly. So
Yeah, it's. I think the hardest list to rank of all time is centers, though, because looking at this top 50, I mean, you have Kareem at 3 of all time, which, and my opinion, Kareem is the best center of all time. There's no debate on that. But next on the center list is Shaq, right?
Right.
And then after Shaq is Bill Russell, then Wilt, and then it's David Robinson, and then Olajuwon. I'm taking Olajuwon over David Robinson, but the rest I'm not too sure. Like I'm thinking I'm gonna take Wilt over him. I'm thinking I might. It's tough because Bill Russell and Shaq. It's like I said, the centers is definitely the hardest to rank of all time. It's more debatable, really.
Yeah, like the '90s is especially like related to that, like the '90s especially era where like the centers are at its top because you mentioned what's it called, Hakeem, Shaq, and David Robinson, all '90s centers, and let's not forget about Patrick Ewing and Alonzo Mourning as well.
Right. Yeah. Patrick Ewing is actually ranked decently low on this list. He's somewhere in the 20s, which is crazy.
I mean,
he is
like the centers are so dominant at that time, and it's crazy because the last center to win the MVP was Shaq in the 1999 to 2000 season, and well, who knows? Maybe it'll be won by a center this year with either Jokic or Embiid, but it just goes to show how much of an era that was for centers.
So Patrick Ewing is actually ranked 38th all time, which is crazy. That's pretty low for him. But, it is what it is.
All right, well, what's it called? I do respect, like, your points. I definitely see why you guys have Shaq over him at times, but yeah, it was a good argument. We put up a good fight.
No, I respect your opinion. Olajuwon, you could definitely still debate it. Olajuwon, without a doubt, he had more assets than Shaq. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Agree to disagree, like I said earlier.
Of course.